Hey, every now and again, I like to create a real talk episode. I envision sitting on my couch in my living room with you guys, just chit-chatting about real, current life. Because this community has grown to be such a safe space. Since we first started in June of 2022, we've managed to openly and vulnerably discuss topics that maybe aren't discussed as openly and vulnerably in the real world. For months now, I've been receiving messages and emails from brothers and sisters who relate to my fragility and precarity and humanity, and it's been making me feel so seen. So, I am encouraged on days like today to bring my open heart to you, hoping that somewhere out there, someone will feel seen or heard as well. The truth is, friends, that I've officially reached the end of myself. I'm officially experiencing burnout, and it is making even the most routine and mindless tasks feel impossible. I've been needing to physically drag my feet out of bed each day. I've been having to remind myself to brush my teeth and wash my face. Even making basic conversation with loved ones now feels like a drain. And while in the past, burnout was kind enough to hint at its arrival beforehand, this time around, I am completely blindsided. I was truly so in control before it hit. I knew exactly what I was doing, balancing the crazy amount of work and creativity with conscious rest. Still, all it took was a couple of weeks of restlessness, and here I am in the pit of pits. I foolishly never could have thought my inner equilibrium was so delicate. And you know me, rarely will I ever feel something or think something without digging in and asking why. So I've been watching videos and reading articles about burnout, but most importantly, I've been picking up my own pen and paper and journaling my heart onto the page, answering not why burnout happens in general, but rather why I myself have gotten here. And I think that this last part is the most important. It's been enabling me to get specific about my life and run proper inventory on the areas in which I feel the most stuck. So for today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about burnout, because just by judging by what I'm seeing online, it seems to be going around. I want to tell you what I've learned about the symptoms of burnout and also how I've been trying to make it through day by day. So let's begin the conversation. Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Being Allowed podcast, or if you're new here, welcome here. My name is Bibishay and I'm your host. And today I want to talk to you guys about burnout, as you guys heard in the introduction. Where, as I was preparing for this episode, I was thinking to myself, it feels kind of ironic that I would create an episode about burnout, because by definition, burnout kind of makes you feel like you don't want to be creative. You don't want to do the work. And it takes so much out of you to even like show up للحاجات البيسك قوي في الحياة زي الشغل, زي creative work, or if you have a side hustle, even sometimes socially, it's hard to show up. And we're going to get to that later. But you're gonna later find out why I insisted on creating this episode, even though في الأول خالص I was like, maybe I should take this week off and like just tell the people that I need a break. وفكرت اخد October off, وبعد كده قلت لأ, let me postpone, see how much further I can go. But I do have burnout, and I've been experiencing it, and I've been online. With the more that I am seeing people on Instagram, even YouTube وكده, حاسة إن في ناس كتيرة قوي بتتكلم إن هما خلاص they've reached a peak. وبحس ساعات إن the world goes through similar seasons in similar times, and it's no coincidence. So if you are going through this, know that you're not alone, and I hope that today's episode can be useful in any way, shape, or form. I want to tell you guys a story, If you've been following me on Instagram or if you have been seeing my shorts on YouTube, then you already have a hint of this story. بس الأسبوع اللي فات كنت حاسة إن أنا جايبة آخري ومش قادرة، وكنت حاسة إن أنا كده فاضية قوي، وكنت حاسة إن أنا محتاجة أتملي. I was like okay, I'll do the hard thing اللي أنا عارفة إن هي هتديني reward في الآخر. Because sometimes the thing we need is not necessarily the thing we want in the moment. فقلت لنفسي هلبس لبسي وهروح الجيم و I'll just go on a run on the treadmill عشان الدنيا كانت حر قوي برا, and hopefully that will make me feel better. بس بدل ما اخد عربيتي للجيم قررت ان انا هتمشى للجيم عشان on my way there's a lake and there's greenery and gardens and trees وكده, وانا عارفة انه nature دي حاجة بتفرق معايا قوي اني اشوف الطبيعة وكده. فعم متحمسة قوي, وكنت برضو سمعت انه just exposing yourself to water, any body of water on a regular basis is enough to like do something to the brain chemicals. I didn't look too deeply into it يعني, بس انه بتساعد قوي ان الواحد يبقى فرحان اكتر وكده. فأم like perfect, هعدي جنب الليك وهتمشى في الجنينة وكده وخلاص. And I did. And then I was so disappointed when I found that the lake اللي انا كنت متحمسة قوي اشوفه هما مفضيينه. بعد كده افتكرت ان مامتي كانت قالت لي قبلها بكام يوم ان هما هيفضوا الليك اللي في الكومباوند عندنا عشان ينظفوه ويمينتين it, يعملوا له مينتيننس. ودي حاجه بتحصل مش عارفه يا مره يا مرتين في السنه, حاجه زي كده, ان هما بيفضوا كل الميه وبعد كده ينظفوا جامد قوي يعني الليك نفسه وكده. بس I was so disappointed وبتاع, ورحت الجيم بقى محبطة جدا عشان بجد كنت متحمسة مع انها حاجة صغيرة قوي, بس انا عارفة انها بتفرق معايا. ورحت عملت التمرين بتاعي وكده, وانا بجري ده جزء من الحاجات اللي بتخليني احب قوي الجري, انه وانا بجري ببقى عارفة اسمع افكاري اكتر وعارفة اركز اكتر في كده what's going on inside, as I was running I was like oh my gosh, the lake has been emptied for maintenance, and this burnout that I'm going through right now really feels like I have been emptied. It feels like كل حاجة, كل الانرجي اللي كان جوايا, كل الكرياتيف ideas, كل الباشن اللي كان عندي ناحية ان انا show up for work and like do even الشغل العادي بتاعي مش creative وكده, كله اتفضى وما عنديش حاجة تانية اديها. ومش عارفة حتى ابقى يعني, كنت دايما شايلة هم قوي انه مثلا حد من اصحابي يبقى بيعدي بوقت صعب او كده, لان ما عنديش حاجة اديها لحد محتاج ياخد مني حاجة. I immediately recognized the parallel between what's going on in the lake and what's going on in my heart. And I was like, what if I consider burnout from a different perspective? Usually we think of burnout as a really bad thing عشان هو بيبقى interruption من ان احنا بدل ما احنا we're going through the motions of life and we're able to be productive, لا احنا مرة واحدة burnout بيخلينا نقف ونهنج, و sometimes it takes a really long time for us to be able to pick ourselves back up and show up بقى ونرجع تاني نعمل شغلنا. ففي حاجات كتيرة بتتأثر وحاجات بتتعطل وكده. But what if we consider burnout from a different, more positive perspective, إنه we are being emptied for maintenance. حاسة إنه this theme keeps coming up in my life more and more and more these days, of like we are so fast-paced. We are all about the hustle. We're all about achieving things, making things happen, reaching goals, making lists and checking them off, all that stuff. We're all about that. And rarely do we ever pause or actually come to a complete stop إن احنا نركز هو احنا بناخد بالنا من نفسنا ازاي, هو احنا بنركز في نفسنا ازاي, هو احنا بنسمع لاحتياجاتنا وبعد كده نبان لها ازاي. And what if burnout is our body and our mind's way of shaking us into realizing we need maintenance, we need to be cleaned, we need to be محتاجين نطلع كل الجنك, كل أي حاجة that doesn't serve us anymore نطلعها, عشان لما المية ترجع تاني وتبقى بتجري ويبقى فيه نافورة وكل حاجة تبقى مية نظيفة، تبقى مية منعشة، تبقى مية بتطلع fruit بجد كويس. What if burnout is the wake-up call we've all been needing to actually tend to ourselves, to actually show up for ourselves? I think the whole thing with the lake really woke me up. بس عايزة أقول لكم شوية signs of burnout. Maybe you're experiencing burnout and you don't know. Of course there are so many signs. I've been reading, زي ما قلت لكم في introduction, I've been reading a lot about burnout. بس هقول لكم symptoms that I'm personally experiencing right now. So I'm not experiencing all the symptoms. بس number one is loss of motivation. حاسة ان انا ما عنديش اي will power او اي drive، اي passion ان انا اعمل اي حاجة من الحاجات اللي انا قبل كده كنت بحب اعملها، او اي حاجة من الحاجات اللي هي بتديني fulfillment ultimately يعني. بس ما عنديش motivation، ما عنديش اي حماس، ما عنديش اي تشجيع ان انا اعمل اي حاجة. تاني حاجة a strong sense of hopelessness. انا بجد بقيت حاسة ان انا محبطة وما عنديش اي امل لاي حاجة، وبقيت regularly بيجيلي افكار في مخي اللي هو انا بعمل كل ده ليه اصلا، هو انا شغالة في كل ده ليه، ببذل مجهود في كل ده ليه، what is it all for. And there's this like cloud of hopelessness over my head. The third feeling is feeling lonely or isolated. And this has been causing me to feel frustrated كمان إنه even though I'm surrounded by people who love me and people who I love، وبالعكس أنا عشان حاسة إن أنا I'm lonely، حاسة إن أنا I'm reaching out to my friends even more and I'm wanting to see them even more. بس بعدين لما بقعد معاهم وبخرج معاهم وكده حاسة إني لوحدي برضو، حاسة إن أنا مش عارفة. I'm just so frustrated and I feel so lonely and I feel like no one understands what I'm going through. In fact, if anything, I feel like I don't understand what I'm going through. مفيش كلام، مفيش حاجة معينة is triggering ال symptoms دي، بس I'm feeling isolated من كل حد because of my experience. Related to that is إنه I've been feeling very bored and nothing has been taking that away. فأنا I'm isolated وأنا قاعدة مع الناس، زهقانة وأنا قاعدة مع الناس، زهقانة من ال conversations، زهقانة من ال activities اللي بنعملها. I just feel so bored كده وبعد كده أقعد لوحدي أحس إني زهقانة قوي برضو. حتى لو أنا قاعدة لوحدي أنا بعمل حاجات بحبها زي إني بلون أو حتى بتفرج على TV أو بعمل أي حاجة. I still feel super bored. And just for the record, for anyone who knows me, I never get bored. دي مش شخصيتي ان انا ابقى واحدة بتزهق. انا بالعكس انا I always used to like prefer my time alone، لان طول ما انا قاعدة لوحدي انا يا بقرا كتاب يا بلون يا بفضي دولابي يا بعمل حاجة فعلا بتبسطني وبسمع مزيكا وكده، ما بزهقش. I'm not the kind of person who's ever bored. فدي كانت علامة كبيرة قوي، دي كانت واحدة من أكبر red flags اللي خلتني أوقف كده يعني أفكر هو أنا إيه اللي بيحصل لي، is realizing oh my gosh I'm actually bored. This is so weird and I'm bored with people and I'm bored without people, alone. I'm bored doing things, I'm bored without doing things. حاسة إن أنا بلخ كده زي ما قلنا. وآخر حاجة خالص إنه I feel incapable of making good decisions. حاجة تانية عليا إنه I'm usually a very disciplined kind of person. بيبقى عندي روتين، بيبقى عندي system. ببقى عارفة إني بصحى مثلا كل يوم الساعة كذا، أعمل 1 2 3 وبعد كده ابتدي يومي. I've completely messed up my morning routine. Now I don't have a morning routine. I'm unable to make the good decisions زي إني ألعب رياضة، زي إني بدل ما scroll endlessly on my phone إن أنا مثلا أمسك كتاب أقراه. ما عنديش القوة اللي تخليني أختار الحاجة الكويسة حتى لو هي أصعب شوية over إن أنا أختار الحاجة المش كويسة اللي هي هتضيع لي وقتي أو هتضرني أو أي حاجة زي كده. And I've just, these are all like مثلا and another thing too that I've really been noticing is مشاكل في النوم. أنا ولا عارفة أنام في وقت كويس ولا عارفة أنام ليلة بحالها على بعض. يعني every night بتبقى متقطعة وبصحى مليون مرة في النص وكده، ولا عارفة أصحى في وقت كويس. يعني my sleep is just all over the place. I feel like everything in my life has now been super all over the place. And it's just been it's been hard and it's been making me feel really really emotional إنه أنا شايفة symptoms I feel like I'm not myself. I feel like I'm someone else completely. لأن بالذات if you're the type of person who usually is so clear about who you are, about what you want, about where you want to go and what you need to get there وكده. لما حاجة زي burnout بتحصل, it really stops you dead in your tracks and you feel hopeless and you feel sticky and you feel not good enough. You feel like nothing you're doing is good enough. Nothing you're doing is able to get you out of this mess, this stickiness that you're in, where it feels like, okay, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? I really can't find it. But I feel like step one, ودي حاجة I'm very grateful for, is, I've been able to identify, yes, that this is burnout. في الأول كنت حاسة لأنه يعني حتى لما قريت كتير قوي وكده شفت إنه the symptoms of burnout are very similar to the symptoms of depression. And if you don't address burnout early on, it could lead to depression. ودي حاجة من الحاجات برضو اللي حسستني يمكن مهمة قوي إن أنا أعمل الحلقة دي, عشان مهم إن احنا نحاول نلحق نفسنا قبل ما الدنيا تضلم أكتر من ما هي مضلمة already. إنه if you don't treat the symptoms of burnout, they could lead to depression because the symptoms are so similar. And so therefore, step one is identifying that this even is burnout. And now we can start approaching it differently. Now that we know that it's burnout, now that we know that we're emptied for maintenance, we need to lean into that and try to understand بقى دلوقتي نعمل ايه. فهقول لكم شوية حاجات أنا بعملها currently أو بحاول أعملها, لأنه مش كل الأيام بيبقى عندي يعني strength أو motivation إن أنا أعمل أي حاجة. بس here's what I've been trying to do. I feel like the first thing is إنه مدركة, يعني I really liked, this clicked for me with the lake thing, is now that I'm seeing burnout as an opportunity rather than a hindrance or rather than a formula في حياتي, I'm able to be more optimistic about it. فمودي towards the whole thing, I think, has improved just a little bit. I think step one is realizing if you're experiencing burnout, this is an invitation and a calling to something better, maybe right around the corner. Just if we lean into this burnout and really address it in a proper and healthy way. For step one is maybe consider your season of blech as that you're being emptied to be refilled with something so much better. This makes it seem like it's not permanent, because burnout does feel permanent, not permanent. Anyway, but so here are a few things that I've been doing. Number one, feeling like it's a good thing, addressing it in that perspective. تاني حاجة, tune into your emotions rather than run away from them. And this applies to everything, not just with burnout. It applies to everything. My therapist used to say, لما كنت after my divorce, when I was going through the darkest phase ever, كانت بتقولي بحسك بتresist الwaves, فلما بتresist الwaves بيغطوكي وبتغرقي. But if you surrender, lean into the waves, they will carry you, and then eventually the wave will die out وهيبقى عندك بحر أهدى شوية. So this applies to everything. But in terms of burnout, okay, if you need to take a break, if you need to step away from routine, if you need to pause مثلا a project that you've been working on in order to really tend to yourself, do that. Ride the wave, don't resist it. Tune into your emotions, don't run away from them. تاني حاجة, I've been treating my work, especially بقى my creative work, the blog, the podcast وكده, this is الجزء اللي قلت لكم عليه في الأول. I've been treating all of this like a business. So I've been showing up like I have no choice. في شوية حاجات حسيت إنه لا, مهم إن أنا أخد break منهم, فأنا I'm currently on a break من حاجات معينة. بس في حاجات تانية حاسة اللي هو if I take a break from them هبقى أكني مستسلمة, ودي حاجة هتحسسني أكتر إنه I have no control. بس في حاجات زي البودكاست ده وحاجات تانية زي يوتيوب وكده, I have decided to treat them like a business. And in a business مفيش حاجة اسمها إنه أنا هاخد شهر أجازة وخلاص. لا، هو أنا عندي حاجات معينة لازم أسلمها، عندي حاجات معينة لازم أشو up for. ف I have the privilege of doing that with a few of the projects that I'm working on, by taking myself so seriously. بس في حاجات تانية لا, I had to make the conscious decision to take a break from. So maybe in your season of burnout, consider ايه الحاجات اللي you can afford to be strict with yourself فيها و to take yourself seriously فيها and don't take a break منها, وإيه الحاجات اللي you can afford to take a break from, and maybe you should take a break from. So maybe make a list of this and that. ده اللي أنا عملته. تالت حاجة أو رابع حاجة مش عارفة is taking regular breaks. So I'm realizing I have burnout, but I also want to be producing this podcast, for example. ده example. بس عارفة ان انا مثلا my attention span دلوقتي مش كبير قوي عشان انا بعدي باللي انا بعدي بيه ده, يبقى هدي لنفسي breaks often. As I was planning for this episode, for example, I took many breaks, more breaks than usual. And I'm just like being slower and kinder and gentler with the work process or with the creativity process. And then even when it comes to like مثلا physical movement and activity ورياضة وكده, because this is a big thing. I've been also taking lots of breaks. So whereas the usual Buba would work out 6 days a week, now I'm choosing to work out maybe 3 to 4 times a week instead. If that. وعارفة انه ده الoptimistic انه 3 to 4 times a week, وعارفة ان في أسابيع هضطر أقعد أكتر ما I don't work out. It's okay. بس عامة I'm trying to be kinder with myself by making room for more breaks in my life in general. حاجة تانية is forcing myself to tend to my actual needs, even if they feel exhausting, just to think about them. For example of this is the workout. I am trying to force myself. أنا مدركة إنه ده احتياج. يعني زي ما قلنا إحنا we're being emptied for maintenance. What does this lake need right now? This is the phase where we're giving the lake what it needs so that when it returns really well. What do I need as I'm being emptied? I need to give myself love and care. How do I give myself love and care? Sometimes love and care are tough, such as forcing my butt off the couch so that I could actually work out. This is tough love, but this is what I need. If I'm trying to be conscious about إيه اللي أنا فعلا محتاجاه, ودي لنفسي الحاجات اللي أنا فعلا محتاجاها. رياضة. Maybe I need a night in with a bubble bath. Maybe I need to meet friends. Maybe I need to not meet friends. Whatever it is that I need, I'm trying to listen and give that to myself. آخر حاجتين, they're very related برضو, is prioritizing sleep and doing nighttime breath work. زي ما قلت لكم يعني sleep has been all over the place for me الفترة دي. فحاجة من الحاجات اللي مساعداني إن أنا fall into sleep أو actually try to get rest is إنه I've been doing nighttime breath work and nighttime meditations every single night before I go to sleep. I've been listening to بعمل meditations, sleep meditations مع the app Headspace. I've been using Headspace since January actually. I usually just do their daily meditations, but now on days where I can't do the morning meditation, I will do sleep meditations, and they've been really helping me. في شوية منهم بيبقوا integrate meditation with breath work الاتنين, these have been super duper helpful. بس these are just a few things that I've personally been doing to combat burnout, and I'm really hoping that as I consider burnout as an invitation for something better, إني أدي لنفسي الفرصة أشوف إن السيزن ده هيبقى فرصة إنه أركز في new decisions, a new way forward. How do I want to move forward with the rest of my life? يعني هل دلوقتي ممكن مثلا integrate حاجة جديدة في حياتي هتخليني show up for my life in a different way? One of those things has been إنه I'm realizing I move too fast and I do too much. And this season of burnout has been making me realize, wow, I want to go back to the old Buba who lived her life much slower, who integrated very conscious routines and systems into her daily life that brought her back to a slower paced life. And a slower paced life is a more conscious life, is a more intentional life. I'm learning maybe this burnout is teaching me to slow down in general. مش أستنى until I reach burnout to slow down, but to slow down من دلوقتي. What could your burnout be trying to tell you right now? What system changes could it be inviting you to incorporate into your everyday life دلوقتي? Take this time to actually try to be conscious about that. Sticky as burnout may seem, it seems like an interruption, especially if we كنا على momentum قبل كده وحاسين ان احنا we're finally in a place where we're able to ان احنا ننجز الحاجات اللي احنا عايزين ننجزها and work towards our plans and our goals and our dreams. Burnout comes and interrupts it, and it interrupts that. And we are nearing the end of the year, and I don't know about you guys, but I find that the years that start the year before, that start well the year before, end up being more successful. I want to start 2024 from right now. I want to close off 2023 with 2024 in mind. And I want to come in to the new year as a new person, someone who is better, who is improved, someone who is able to listen to the warning signs of life around her and then incorporate changes into her life. And I can't help but feel as though this burnout is just that. This burnout is an invitation for me to make the changes I need to make in order to be able to walk into 2024 with my head held high, with a new perspective, new systems, new routines that help me work towards the person I want to become. I can't help but feel like this burnout is a blessing in disguise, even though most days are really, really annoying and the loneliness is not fun and this feeling of boredom is not fun. None of that is fun. But I can't help but feel that on some level, way deep inside, this burnout is a privilege and it's a blessing. So what if we all listen to that today? If you're experiencing burnout, why don't you listen? Lean in and listen to what it's trying to tell you on a personal level. Why don't you try to pick up your pen and paper and maybe consider things that you can incorporate into your life from right now that can help you move forward as the person you want to be. I feel like it is a privilege for me to even have this conversation with you guys, knowing that you guys are here on my couch with me, listening. This community has become such a blessing and such like a cornerstone in my life that even in my burnout, I was like, I don't want to let this go. I don't want to stop creating content for these wonderful people who have not once failed at showing up and participating and contributing and joining the conversations. I just want to thank you guys for giving me the motivation to show up and to create and to think out loud and to share my thoughts and my heart with you guys, even when I'm going through this stickiness and this like confusing season. So once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in, for listening. If you are at all in support of the Being Allowed podcast, if you enjoyed today's episode or if you enjoyed other episodes or if you are in support in general, please like and share and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends about this so more people can join this conversation so that I can keep feeling motivated to create new content for new people, unique as they may be. As always, I really, really love showing up for you guys. And I absolutely cannot wait to see you again next time. Have a beautiful day.